Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Komal. Thank you, Kajaria. Thank you all for being here. Uh, Thank you, my dear panelists. Thank you, Sebastian, sir, chairman. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Money, greeting. Jagopal, sir, is moderated. They seem like very tangible themes. Numbers to them. You can build strategies around them. But then we have scent. And suddenly we are in very murkier areas. How do you measure mindset? How do you because it's far more nuanced. It's very personal. So you cannot measure it. You cannot standardize it. It kind of shifts with time. It shifts with context. It shifts with who you are, where in practice you are. Uh, especially in a dynamic profession like us. So. I would like a quick show of hands because we'd like to know our audience. How many of you all are students here? Students? Students? Great. Great. You've been in my classroom. Thank you. Students, yes, please. Students, hi. How many of you all are architects here? Architects? How many of you all are practicing architects here? How many of you all are not practicing? How many of you all have diversified into different fields? Great. How many of you all have digital presence here? How many of you all have no digital presence here and would like to? How many of you all are award-winning architects here? How many of you are non-architects here? Non-architects who have to put up with architects every day? I'm really sorry for you guys. I know architects can be a pain. So thank you so much for all of you being here, panel members. You know your audience now. I begin with Sebastian, sir. Sir, you've been practicing Shilpi architects, one of the most established practices in the city, in the state, in the country. You're also an institution builder, the brainchild behind Seed. I'll start with a very broad question. How would you define the current times? What exactly is architectural practice today? And how would you establish what is the disposition, what is the outlook, what is the philosophy, what is the attitude one must have to navigate current times? I'm starting at a very broad question. Okay. Yeah, thanks, Sudhik. Thanks, Komal, and my friend Kochurman for having me here. So it's a very nice initiative that you guys have taken up. And regarding the question, I mean, so frankly speaking, I'm a very intuitive person. I mean, whatever has happened in my profession, I have just gone with the flow. Now, I mean, I've not tried to force things in. But overall, when I think going a bit wild, I came into this profession quite unknowingly. I didn't really have an architect connection. I have not met even an architect, but I somehow my house was simply constructed. My father was doing it, and an engineer was designing it. I got very interested, and then I used to sketch buildings back when I was a child, but I didn't know anything about architecture. And I thought, when I was after this, I thought, I have some interest in buildings. So when this name architecture came, and then that's how I got in, and then I've just gone in with that flow. So for me, that's how life has taken. But I've always, once I've been there, so, I was always, conscious of certain things, this broad outlines or broad goals that I've
target. And then I mean, most of the things might work, but at the same time, if it doesn't work, you move to a plan B or a plan C. So I just gone with the flow, but I've ensured that there's a broad scale of structure and certain kind of responsibility or certain values that you carry along. So I think those things are static, and the life takes you in different ways, and that's how I ended up, being in a part of steel also. Never really tried to become an institutional builder. I just happened to be an institutional builder, and once I've gotten it, I've taken it in full steam and given it a direction. And I mean, so coming back to your question, it's we all have people come from different fields. When matches he comes from a slightly senior generation. I come from another generation, and there's people sitting here. They're from different generations. We all have our own issues, and we always address things with a certain. But what is static is our values, our basic constitution, and our there is certain responsibility to the society and the profession that we are. These are things that are static, but then you take things in the flow and address these things peacefully. The issues may be different. What I have may not be the issue that 10 years down the line someone else is doing. Right? Similarly, when we came into the profession, it was the time when AutoCAD was getting introduced. I never had worked with AutoCAD, but then I could master it very fast. Now the generation of AI is, and I'm suddenly nowhere. So these are things that then you try to work with and then try to master it. So basic thing is to have that clear of mind and be cool. Not just get carried away by things that there are a lot of problems today. Your profession is in crisis. Nothing. World will move on. Yeah. So one of the static values, but I'd like to assert in a very dynamic profession of ours. We've got a lot of young architects here. I'd like to continue with Matthew sir build upon what Sir Sebastian sir said. Static values in a dynamic profession like us. With young architects here, with a lot of, I'm sure, with the day-to-day practice, there's a lot of anxiety. When will I land my next project? How do I, when you have erratic payments coming in, how do I, when you have steady outgoings every month, how do I manage my incomings? How do I, there is a lack of infrastructure in the city. For example, for a young practice to start a practice, do they have a space to rent for free or support by senior architects? There's a lot of anxiety that is there with clients. Some of them are very hard clients. So it is not easy for a young practice or a youngster to start practice. And you see that after 5 years of study in university, you have a lot of students who diversify, who are still fearful, they are insecure, and they diversify into other fields, where it's a very, very common fact today. So Matthew sir, someone like you, one of the senior most practitioners in the city, from Matthew Inside Architects, who has mentored so many young architects. What is your opinion on this?
Yeah, thank you, Pratik. Thank you, Sebastian. I heard what you were talking about, to practice some role. I said, you mentioned that I'm senior to you. Of course, but still, the practice is a different. The seniority doesn't mean or matter all the time. See, as a young architect, I might say, if I tell about my profession, I used to work with an architect even during my college days. Whether it was like that 2 months vacation, I used to go there and work for some time. I had a passion to learn. I don't say that I had a passion for architecture, but I had a passion to learn and study the techniques and then maybe practice it in the architecture field. Then after that, after coming out of the college, maybe after 6 years or so, myself and my wife Sarah, we both started an office, and then now, by the grace of God, we are completed, I think, 38 years. I think Sarah is sitting there at Ethan, right? So, see, okay, see, in architects, what I say, my three children, they are all architects. Their generation gap is always there, I understand. So, earlier, studying a client was so difficult. So we had to propose so many plans and talk to them and maybe propose. Then he may say that, I don't like it, or maybe I got it. So he may not say that directly I don't like it, but he may shake things. I had to even continue changing a plan for, I think, 12 times for a client. So the patience is one of the most important things that we have to be very careful, patient, and hardworking. There are times when we used to work till midnight. And not, I'm talking about the college days. Colleges, of course, we all work midnight. Then later, because those things, the revisions are very difficult, all manual. And then came the tools in the architects, we have got the AutoCAD and other tools, the presentation techniques and other things are there. Now the AI stuff. So the AI is a helping tool, that is what I think. It is not a competitor to us. So for the youngsters, when they start, actually, to me, what I want to say is that you have to study the client first. So maybe you may not be remunerated properly initially, but you also be patient. So the practice, the legend will not come to follow a sudden. You have to be patient. You may have to maybe as for the real family said, his first thing was talking rejected. So I know one of my young architect, actually a young practitioner, who was kept made a model, a physical model. Nowadays, physical models are not very important now. The physical model, unlike client, I showed you, client actually, he humiliated him. Now he's one of the topmost person, and he has got notice in the world. See, that is how we grow. We have to grow, learn from failures. So that is what we have to think about.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I will move to Katie now. Kochi has been very, very instrumental. I still remember 12 years, or I think around 14 years ago, Katie, when there were many young practices in the city struggling on getting work. Kochi was one person who said that let's embrace these young practices and involve them in the Kochi Design Metro competition. And we were one of those practices who we embraced, me, Shelna, Narayan, many such youngsters in the city. That's where, KP, I'd like to ask you, you've always been a facilitator of this collective mindset. You've always spoken about a collective mindset rather than the individual mindset. I'd also like to hear from you, what is the role of this collective mindset? What is the role of institutions like IIA and Council of Architecture in this collective mindset? Are we on our own, or can we fall back upon our institutions?
To start with, I think we have to go to the fundamentals. Most of the times, we kind of forget to understand what are the fundamentals. So I've been recently reading a lot on segment solids, neuroscience, and philosophy, and how our brain works. And interestingly, I stumbled upon a story of cows, bisons, and the storm. So just listening to Sebastian sir and Matthew sir, I'll just quickly tell you the story. You will understand how you can reflect to that story. So Daniel is let's tell the story. It is true that cows, when the storm comes, cows are generally, they stay together. Mostly they stay under the tree. The bisons show the same pattern, but when the storm is almost near to them, they generally tend to turn and move into the storm. The idea behind is that anyway you will get hit by a storm, so why not move into the storm so you faster get out of the storm? Whereas like cows, they stay there and then they get hit by the storm. How what Sebastian has been telling is actually that he is a bison. What Mattis has been saying that he is a bison. But what we are trying to do is, or when you say that I've been doing a collective, getting people together to work together in 10 years back, was a bison with a particular storm 10 years back. Now, the storm he faced, the storm at his face, the storm I faced, and the storm where Jinsi is going to face is different. So, the bison attitude, or which is in each of customers, understand that we need to be a bison, we need to charge the storm because nobody's going to come and give you the thought. No institution, no COA, no rules, whether it's in India or whether it's in UK, is facing a lot of trouble. We have to charge and move into the state. And also understand that you can't copy a Samaski model, you can't copy a Matthew Josephson model. I'm sure that Degovan will also agree that his model is working at that point at time. He has evolved in perfectly in a different way. You can't copy any of us. So the idea is that are we thinking seriously about who we are, what we want, and who are going to be our potential clients, which is the storm that is going to come. And how fast are we whenever we are ready, at what pace are we going to change from a cow to a bison and charge into the storm? Only when we charge into the storm is success will come. Institution, IAA, COA will all follow the bison. So I'm asking the audience, can we all be a bison who face a storm which is not common for us, which is different for each individual? What Arjun is going to face as a storm is different. I can't copy against what Sunda, for example, she raised her hand high because she's been struggling to survive around the architects. Her storm is different. So we need to fundamentally understand what are we as human beings in this earth, in this relative town, trying to do. And architecture is just a medium or tool to expose ourselves. So I think institution and CUA doesn't matter. It is us. It is what is inside us is what matters. Unless we don't understand us really, it's possible. And it's not possible at all. And the major mistake I think is that everybody is trying to copy an award-winning architect. They are trying to become a Sanjay Puri, they are trying to become a Charles Taylor, or they are trying to become so and so. But unfortunately, what the stone Sanjay Puri is taking is not of the future. I think that is where Gisney, I recently met her, and that is where she comes in. Where I am saying that she has understood over 10 years, she has been realizing what the stone is, and she has invented, sorry to quote this, but she has invented herself as one bison which I have seen very rarely in the last 10 years. And that's the reason why I wanted to make sure that she is there in the mindset panel. So to extend my answer, I can do it.
Did you just call us all bisons and cows?
I'm really sorry. It's a story that is part of the neurosciences. No one can Google. It says cows, bisons, and the story.
Yes, fair enough, Katie. I really agree with you, and that brings me naturally to you, Jisne. You represent, I think, the youngest amongst all our speakers now on stage. You represent a generation that's navigating this firsthand, right? In a country with 1.4 billion people. Which desperately needs infrastructure. We keep talking about GDP, we keep talking about affordable housing. We still have many qualified architects who still complain that they struggle to find work, they struggle to keep the practice afloat, or they are jumping ship, or they've got a side hustle going on to keep their practice afloat, or they're looking at diversifying from mainstream practice. So, what is your opinion on this, Jisni? And what is the storm that Katie is referring to? Could you also throw light on that?
Thank you for the opportunity and thank you for your kind words. I think the storm is subjective to each of us. And I would like to take cues from what I think Jabina ma'am had said the other day and what Katie has said today. I don't really think that it is important to, I mean, I don't think it is a problem that people are diversifying from architecture, from mainstream architecture for that matter. I think what's important is what are your sensibilities, what is it that has been embedded in you from your experiences, from when you've learned architecture, and how are you taking it forward? I do not practice mainstream architecture, so it's difficult for me to answer it from a direction which I am not sure how many of y'all would associate with. But then, so when I go in, I work mostly with regional heritage practitioners, and when I go in, I do not go in as an architect, but I go in with my architectural sensibilities, and that has really helped me. And I think one great thing about an architecture college, at least in when I was studying, was that it gave me a lot of confidence to step out and as an individual stand my ground as in where I want to. But I think also having taught in architecture college is something that I feel is problematic. It's more a systemic problem, I think. But something that I think is inherently a problem is that when you, I mean, for a lack of a better word, you can, I mean, we can look at it critically. When we start over glorifying what a studio is as a subject, when there's so much of weightage on it, and when everything else is, in a way, you make it seem like a side hustle. Okay, it's there, it's a theory subject. But when you step out, those are extremely important to really put together a design. And mostly we forget to bring that to the table for a student to understand. And that is why, I mean, I think to an extent that is also one of the reasons why there is a struggle. You assume that you have to step out and then there is a certain direction in which you have to go. I don't think there is a certain direction. Just you creating your own path, you know. Yeah, that's what it is.
So you create your own path. You keep yourself relevant in changing times, and that reminds me of this very. I think most of you all must have read this book called *Sapiens* by Yuval Noah Harari, and he says that the biggest challenge that mankind is going to face is not economic crisis, political crisis, but this feeling of being irrelevant. With all our degrees up on the wall, with all our money in the bank, there could be times you feel very irrelevant. So I come back to Sebastian sir on this because this connects us to a very another tension. I recently had a word with a couple of senior architects who expressed feelings of irrelevance. You know, we have excellent practitioners doing meaningful work, but they don't even exist on social media at all. You know, then there's this persistent question that if you don't exist digitally, you don't exist as a practice. There are interns and junior architects today interviewing you that how many likes do you have? Can I have a look at your Instagram page? I would like to see your videos, your posts out there, so that I decide whether I join your office or no. So how do we navigate this tension between authentic practice and this demand for constant visibility to stay relevant? Is there a balanced mindset approach here?
Yeah, I mean that's a wonderful opportunity for the young practitioners or the youngsters waiting in the blocks to expose themselves, because you have to go with the times, if you want to be visible. Back in those days, I think when you look at Gobamar sir's times and all, very few architects, hardly architecture was an unknown entity. Even when we started, I started around, I finished around in 95 or so, almost 30 years back. So, I mean, there was awareness about architects, and people used to say, what is an architect, Yeah, I hadn't met an architect when I joined an architecture school. So the times have changed. First came the magazines, all this, the local magazines, especially in Kerala. The Vanida Ved and Designer really changed the scene. I mean, I should thank myself to these guys for making me visible back in those days, 20 years back. Now the social media is there. You can make yourself visible. That's a great opportunity. I mean, so that's why you have to go with it for times. Just embrace what is there, and then don't get bogged down by, and saying that you are irrelevant or anything.
But there's a flip side to this visibility, right, sir?
Yeah.
Where to be seen, you see there are some extreme measures also being taken. There are predatory awards. There are, there is this entire AI-generated imagery that might not even be the work of the architect. There is plagiarism going on. Today, you see this talking about materiality. You look at Instagram pages of many practice. They've all started looking very homogeneous. The same old, it's not actually, it's an RCC wall, but you've got stone cladding on it, but to make it look more Instagrammable. Nothing wrong with it, nothing wrong. But all I'm saying is, even with the age-old, the manual of architectural practice that says this is the kind of professional ethics that one needs to carry. We also see a lot of practices that do design and build, who actually take up contract, not just of their own work, but also of other architects' work. You see architects doing that today. So for visibility, to remain afloat, to stay relevant, you see there's a lot of unethical practices also taking place today. What do you have to say for that, sir?
Yeah, that's 100% correct. Those things will be there, and with these changing times, they'll be more and more prominent. That's for sure. But it's for you to chart. I mean, to make a sense, in these. What do you really stand for? So I mean, you can embrace technology in a positive way. I mean. You should see some great practices still doing, like Moshe Safdie. That's a great, and Zaha Hadid practice. They also are using social media still. Why? I mean, so you have to stay with the times. And then I think, ultimately when you start executing a project, if you don't have the right skills, you will be exposed. You can always but when the real work happens, you cannot fool people. You cannot, unless you have the real skill and the ability, you won't be able to come up with a physical work. Yes. Doing things in a virtual world is very easy, but to execute a project that is a different ball game altogether. So, I mean, so I take these things in a very, I don't, overreact to these things, but I also embrace social media in our own way. I won't say we are great at it. I mean, we do our own, we don't give too much of importance also to that. We are more concerned about what we are doing as architects. Each day we have our own challenges, and then, but that's the point that I was trying to make, to be responsible, to in whatever way, in whatever ways that, you can be.
So values, skills,
yes,
talent, ethics,
yes.
They're going to make it any day over anything else.
Ultimately, those things will surface above the others.
Yes. Yeah. So I'd like to come to Katie on a follow-up question that when
follow-up on bison or storms.
So this is a storm you might be facing almost every day. Yeah. That when young architects approach you for positions in your office for the last many years, what do you exactly look for, Katie? And what advice would you give to someone trying to decide between starting their own practice versus gaining experiences in established offices like yours? So what are you looking for in young architects who approach you, and what advice would you give for those who want to start a practice?
I will have to tell one more story.
Yes, please.
Okay, so as I said, I started my practice with J. Gopal, sir. I started with an internship of 500 rupees, and the first salary which I got, I bought a Zodiac shirt, blue color, which was costing 600 rupees. Now I paid 100 rupees from my pocket, and I still have that shirt. Now,
is that what you're wearing now?
No, something else. Okay, now coming back. I remember sir was doing one project for Sahara development. Sahara was calling a few architects. I don't know, sir, you remember that, So sir was trying out something different from what he was trying out. So generally sir works on brick, and because Sahara had a different dynamics to it, and their clientele was different. So I was working on a very interesting project, which is totally different from the language he usually had. So since sir was doing that, for some reason, I decided that I will try and do the same exercise in the language he used to do, because already I have a script. And I remember that I used to work on a Saturday and Sunday when sir was also working in his shops. And sometimes I don't know whether you remember, sometimes he used to buy me doshas from his own hotel. And small conversations here and there. So what is that I was trying to do? Was I there for money? Was I there for something else? I think I was there for the urge of it. I was not there for architecture. I just wanted to see how I could design, because I was very young, so deriving a language of my own was difficult. Now he had sent a template and he is working on something which is totally unique, and the model was nice. It was all good. Unfortunately, I think the Sahara guy had backed us situation and all. But I was parallelly working. Of course, it was much lesser. It was not impactful. But I was working along with him on his palette. So I was not trying to learn architecture. I was trying to learn myself. So if the direct question you want to know, what is that I would like to know a student or an architecture intern who wants to come and join, I would like to understand his mindset. I don't look at whether he's good at sketching. I never look at whether he's got skills in AI or tools or sketches, because those are things which you can learn over the years. There are people who can just teach you in 2 weeks' time. But what is very, very difficult to find is the mindset to be with, to be passionate about it, to passionate about whatever you do. And that's a very scarce thing available in the present market. Very, very difficult to find. I think recently there was this NVIDIA guy who explained about who are the smart people of the new generation. So he said smart people are not the people who knows AI or softwares or who has got hundreds of or thousands of Instagram like. No, smart people of the new generation are the people who have values, who have ethics, and who is eager to understand and learn. That mindset is what the new smart people is. How many, I would like to openly ask, how many people can you find with this new mindset? And that's very few. And that's where I think the whole world will make a difference in another 5 years. We're going to change a big shift. If you also realize what Matthew Joseph Sir said, then you asked about experience. If you have noticed that small words, he said, experience of Sebastian and experience of him is different. They both know, probably they are not putting it into the packaging in a proper neuroscientific way, but indirectly they are saying that what Sebastian does is different, what Matthew Joseph Sir is very different. What works for him and what works for him is different. What is his passion, is different. So I think students should actually, architecture students or architectural fresh graduates, should first look into themselves and understand who they are and understand where they need to go. Only then that real mindset will come. And the rest will automatically flow. You have taken a decision to run into the storm. So are you prepared for running the storm? Or you are just imagining that the storm is coming and you're running it. And you are crying that you're not hitting the storm. Hitting the storm is you're not getting the money. So very rarely people, in fact, Shibili and me has been teaching in Nasadi. I keep joking to Shibili that we ourselves got depromoted from teaching in 10 semesters to first semester. We went to Ajit sir, we said, we don't want to teach in 10th semester. We would like to teach in first semester, because in the last 3-4 years, I've been telling Shibili, there is no point teaching 10th semester students what these fundamentals are. You have to teach in first semester. And I'm just taking a little bit into architecture education also, where SEED is doing very good work. That fundamental learning about what we are and what we are about to do is important, not just in architecture, in any field. And that generalization of architecture has to go away, and we have to focus more inward than outward. is what I think. So if you wind up with the question you have asked, I definitely look at the mindset of the people who are coming, and that gets more marks than the rest of the things.
So passion, a sense of exploration, the ability to adapt, dedication, and of course, like Sir said, hard work and sincerity. As a follow-up question, Jisni, I'd like to ask you, Beninger once said, the greatest gift a teacher can give to a student is the knowledge that they will always be students. So talking about education and continuing education, what exactly is the role of schools of architecture and faculty members today? We have some amongst the audience, and you yourself have been teaching in institutions. So what is the role of institutions and faculty members today?
So I've constantly been critically looking at myself as an academician. So, but also having said that, I think so. I remember once I was at a colloquium for faculties, and there was this conversation about whether you need to teach or you need to facilitate. So there are still many instances where. So I mean, a lot of times the students come and ask you things like, okay, so can you just give us the notes? But then why the notes? I mean, it's about setting a sense of direction in which they should start thinking rather than just going there and lecturing, right? And that also comes down to the fact that I don't really know if, and I think a lot of schools are breaking out of it as well. I don't think architecture is something to be taught within four walls extensively. I mean, right now, I think to an extent it's probably an 80-20 or 75-25, but I think it needs to reverse. Because when you step out, at least, so I come from that whole Cosford line of work, and that is what set my grounding, and that's what made it very exciting for me. And what I realized while I was there at those sites in the growing sun is that what I've been learning there every day from all the people who are working there. It's not just the senior architect coming and talking to me or telling me this is what has to be done. Most of the learning comes from everybody else on site. What the mason is doing, what he's telling me, what the electrician is telling me. So I think it's important for us to break out a lot more from a studio culture or a four-wall teaching, learning experience, as well as, again, a studio culture also in the sense that theories need to be broken out from merely being as theories. They need to be much more, infused into a studio. Like if you have a semester where you have a studio as well as theories, they should go together, I think, hand in hand. And also having said that, it's important right from a student stage, I think, to know how important it is to get involved in transdisciplinary engagements or interdisciplinary, however you want to talk about it. It's not just about, like again, I think an architect is mostly an orchestrator or a facilitator on site. And to be able to do that, right, you need to know how to engage with different disciplines on site.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jisni. Due to lack of time, I'd like to conclude, and I invite Matthew sir as the senior most in the panel with your years of wisdom, sir, a forward-looking conclusion to this session to leave the audience with something to think upon.
Yeah, thank you. It was to the first question you asked, I missed something. I just read it out because lack of time. The students' mindset needs to be realigned in the curriculum, exposing them to other fields and world opportunities in the architectural profession without lowering the pedestal of the mainstream of our profession. So there are so many avenues for students to, think about right from the curriculum stage. Think about, the restoration, the renovation of things, and then conservation, and then the product presentation, architect journalism, and things like that. So many avenues are there. Even the product, for example, for the mindset, the architectural sensibility that remains in the mind for an architect when he or she produces something and then shows to the client. For example, even you think about the curvature here, actually the Kajaria, and an architect explains the materials quality, and then the client will be convinced, and the architect can rightly convey things also. Then again, running an office is not an easy job, and one should know some techniques of management and collecting fees from clients. Otherwise, the firm, you cannot continue the firm. Terms and conditions of the CAA and IEA are all good always, but cannot be followed by all the architects who are in young profession. So you have to be more flexible in that case. So concluding something which all we said, we all had a mindset talked about the practicing of architecture, except this. See, practicing architecture is a dream always when you study in the college. They not be the same all the time. My two daughters, they're architects really. Basically, they are good masters also. One is doing construction project management. Other one is doing, architectural product appraisal. She worked in an office for 1 year and then she understood that is not her stream. She changed and then she's working with an architectural appreciation a company like this. So that is how things goes. We have to look at other streams of profession of the related profession is also equally good. I think I can conclude with this. And
Thank you all. With that, yes, Katie.
I was wanting what you say. Hello, can you hear me? Can you all hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Like Matthew sir said, see, only when you explore other fields or other things that your practice improves. In fact, this run-up from January 12 to February 6 today, I've been, Komal being architecture journalist, how she's been coordinating, how she's been doing things. I for sure, or all of us for sure, I would guarantee that we can't do what she's done. She's done 3 seminars back to back, starting from Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, on how to manage 3 different events at 3 different locations. And within these 3 days, because she had to do it within these 3 days because she has to move to the other states. Now, these are things which we can learn from other people by involving with them, like what his daughter is doing, and that also reflects in our provision. That is where we will realize some things, not everything is there, and not all answers are there in college books or your seniors. Some answers are out of the boundaries. So it is quite important to interact and learn from people who we think, are, comparatively, let's say, neurologically, lesser. But sometimes they are actually more efficient than us. And it is always important to have that open-mindedness to understand and learn. The moment you think that your growth is of mindset or your growth of learning has stopped, I think that's the end of it. So I think growing mindset and helping people to grow is what I think we should promote and help each other to do.
So this is only the beginning. A huge round of applause to our panel. We have our share of good days and bad days, but let's face the storm together and as individuals. Thank you very much, Sebastian sir, Katie, Jisni, and Matthew sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, Komal, once again.